I have been joined by lawyer Kwame Jantuah, who is a lawyer and a former vice chair of PIAC. Good morning.
And a member of the CPP.
And a member of the CPP.
Very important.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Thank you so much for being with us. I asked you off air if you're joining the beard gang.
I decided to.
Why?
I just felt like growing a beard. Never grown a beard before.
Okay.
I thought, why don't you try? The same way, I'm sure you haven't done your hairstyle before. So you decided to do it. So.
Hopefully Elvis will be joining you shortly. We've also been joined by Elvis Darko, who's the editor of the Finder.
Look at Elvis' head. Elvis' head would not encourage him to grow a beard.
How are you, Elvis?
Elvis, good morning.
At all.
What happened?
My weekend has been very, very traumatic.
What's wrong?
Close uncle had a serious emergency. We had to rush from Savda in Tongo to Ho to Kolebu. I'm just coming from Kolebu, and it's been a hell of time for the weekend. How's he doing? I'm just coming from there. He's still in a very critical condition. Wow. Very critical condition. Even though it was a weekend, I think Dr. Akpalu, Dr. Doku, Dr. Nkrumah, Dr. Dodu, Dr. Barnes, Dr. Irene Apia, and the nurses like Josephine, Jerry, and all of them are there. I think we got there Saturday, but they did their best. Even doctors were not on duty at the moment, but when they were called, they came in, and I think that my appreciation goes to them, and I pray that they continue to help us till we get something. He's in a very serious condition as we speak.
We wish him a very speedy recovery. Those health professionals are the real superheroes of this country.
Really, really. Look, my sister, the conditions, this country, we really need to do it.
If I may add.
Yes, please.
Similar to me too, my father was rushed to Central Hospital in Kumasi. And when you look at his state and you look at the young doctors there, and you even look at the emergency ward and the number of people in one emergency ward, doctors are fantastic.
Look,
they try their best.
It's really, as I come in this morning, people are still being rushed in. The unit is full. People are being put in plastic chairs. Why they are going to get beds to even get
it's a challenge.
Those people in the world, my sister,
it's a challenge.
This country, we have to really sit up. It's as if we don't really much think about human life.
And if any of us get sick, we will all end up there.
My sister, I pray to God that I don't find myself in such an emergency, because what we had to go through from Savda, Tongo, to Ho, from Ho to Kolebu, from Friday to...
Did you get an ambulance?
Look, I'm being emotional. I don't want to talk about it this morning.
Okay, speaking
we had to
of
call ambulance service from Accra.
Okay, and they came...
The whole Volta region, no ambulance works.
You are kidding.
I'm telling you.
The whole of Volta
region, there's no single ambulance for the National Ambulance Service. We had to call Accra.
To come to who?
Yes. We had to call somebody who knows somebody at ambulance service. So the ambulance has to come from Accra all the way to Ho.
And imagine if you didn't know somebody who knew somebody.
To go and pick the patient from there to be able to bring the patient to Kolebu. It's a very serious issue.
Okay, so speaking of... And we wish your uncle a speedy recovery and your father a speedy recovery as well.
Thank you.
But your dad is 100, so he's very blessed.
Yes, very blessed. And what they've found, what they've diagnosed is that it would need an operation, but because of his age, if they tried...
the pressure and all that.
So they can only manage the
situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll now take a look at our first story here. It has to do with the health sector as well. I'm reading from page 17 of the Ghanaian Times, and it says here, big boost for healthcare service as President distributes 307 ambulances to 275 constituencies tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is the 28th of January. We've been looking forward to this day, and NPP is delivering on its promise. So emergency healthcare service in the country is to receive a major boost from tomorrow, as all is set for the commissioning and distribution of the much-awaited 307 ambulances by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Accompanying the ambulances to the regions for onward distributions to 275 constituencies nationwide are more than 300 emergency medical technicians, drivers and support staff, and 30 dispatchers. So the Minister of Information, Kojo Koma, met with journalists, and he walked them through some of the things that will happen tomorrow. So aside the ambulances, he said clearance had been given for 575 emergency medical technicians to be recruited, out of which 450 had been recruited, saying the initial deployment of EMT staff are drawn from this previous staff, while an additional 900 staff had received clearance to be recruited. So it seems as though we are all ready. We are going to have 307 ambulances to 275 constituencies tomorrow. Let me hear your initial thoughts on this, Lawyer Jantuah.
Good morning to our viewers. Good morning to our listeners. The first question I'll ask, Trump, what is he? Donald Trump.
The president.
Okay. Boris Johnson, what is he?
Okay.
The Prime Minister. Will Trump go and commission ambulances?
Well, we don't have to compare ourselves to. We're a sovereign nation, so we can do as we want.
We are always comparing ourselves to them anyway.
Okay.
So why can't we compare ourselves with this?
Okay, go ahead.
I do not think it's the president's responsibility to be, what do you call it?
Commissioning
ambulances.
But he promised that he would.
It is up to his Minister of Health to do that.
Okay.
So that we could have gotten these ambulances into the constituencies at an early time. Okay. We knew the ambulances were coming in. Why weren't we able to train these technicians before the ambulances got here? And then we had postponement. And exactly what Elvis has just indicated. Volta region, no ambulance, even in the Ashanti region. How many ambulances do we have? And we're making a big hoo-ha out of it because the president is commissioning it. Is that his duty? I don't think so. Healthcare is supposed to make sure that the people are given the right services. And ambulances are key where healthcare is concerned. So we delayed because the president has to commission it. What's that?
That wasn't the reason the president gave when he met with the journalists. He said that he wanted to ensure that every constituency will have an ambulance, so that maybe we won't have the issue Elvis just mentioned, where a constituency will have it and another constituency won't have it.
How does he ensure? It's up to his Minister of Health to ensure that happens and make sure that those down there are handling the service properly.
Okay.
And this is where the challenge is. So, if we get these ambulances get there, is there not likely to be cross services?
How so?
Where you have an ambulance in a particular district and another district is looking out for an ambulance that doesn't have it, and then you travel all that way, stopping the service in where the ambulances were taken to.
How would you have recommended they go about it?
Well, what has been the plan for this? What's the plan in place for the distribution of ambulances?
One constituency, one ambulance.
That is another thing.
Okay.
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
I'm coming to that. What's the plan? Have the government been able to tell us the whole country needs X quantum of ambulances? This is a concentration of hospital services, and we see where there is much need. So everybody can follow it. And as ambulances are coming in, they are giving it out. As ambulances are coming, they're giving it out. Why has it been parked at the Parliament House for all this while? What's the reason for it?
Well, I told you, he gave a reason for it. And reason being, he did not want Ghanaians to come out and say, these people got ambulances, we didn't, so my family members are dying. You should have given us one as you promised.
At the same time, women are giving birth in what? Tricycles. Women are giving birth in tricycles.
And dying in the process.
So for me, that doesn't hold. Doesn't hold at all. As they come in, you distribute. And as they come, they distribute. You make sure that your minister is making sure that it is going to where it's supposed to go.
Okay.
Are there not people who are supposed to monitor these things? Why is the president doing that job? Thirdly, they've indicated that it's under the 1 million, one constituency initiative. Is it not government's responsibility to buy ambulances?
Yeah, but for a very long time, 62 years into independence, we have 50 ambulances to almost 30 million people.
For me,
we've come a long way.
They cannot attach it to this year 1 million one constituency.
Why not?
Because initially, that is not what they told us.
Okay.
Initially, that wasn't the plan. They're realizing that they can't do the 1 million one constituency. So they're attaching it to government projects.
And what's wrong with attaching it to government projects?
Then that means they are not telling us the truth.
How so?
We expected that 1 million was specific for a constituency, not overall.
But isn't your health part of your development as a constituency? So if you have an ambulance that's helping you,
your health is part of it, but it's government's responsibility to make sure that they buy ambulances for every constituency, not under this 1 million one code, because that's not how they explained it to us initially.
Okay.
When they explained it to us, if they told us that some of the projects we are doing, we would attach it to 1 million one constituency, we will understand it.
Okay.
But so far as I can see, this 1 million one constituency, has it taken shape at all?
Well, some people might argue that it has.
As a journalist, you are the ones who are supposed to make
but
sure
you're also a Ghanaian citizen. Do you feel like it has not?
I don't feel like
they've brought about.
I don't feel like
dams. They are working on some 1D, 1F. All of these things.
Do you say some?
Well, it's a work
in some.
Yes, it's still a work in progress, no?
Well, I expected that by now they would have been able to tell us exactly where they are with all these initiatives that they brought up.
Okay.
The one district, one factory. For me, I don't think the way they even initiated it was the right way.
How should they have done it?
I believe that there are certain factories that could have had a quick turnaround and brought in more money into the government's coffers. Be it that it won't be spent, at least in that first phase, it wouldn't be dependent on other people's projects.
But it's a public-private partnership.
I'll give you an example. Even private partnership, government could have tailored it in such a way that returns would be higher. I'll give an example. Jute sacks. We import jute sacks. We spend nearly 500 million in importing jute sacks. Jute sacks are used for what?
Cocoa bagging.
Cocoa bagging. There are two countries in the world that are 1 and 2 where cocoa is concerned.
Ghana and Ivory Coast.
Ghana and Ivory Coast. If we decided to manufacture jute sacks, can we not grow the jute? And in growing the jute, we will not be able to manufacture these sacks. Would we not now stop the 500 million we are importing jute sacks from Bangladesh? Would that not have been a good one district, one factory thing because the return is higher? Gold refinery.
But that would have to, someone from the private sector could have come out to say, I'm solving this problem, and then government will support you, and then you have your one district, one factory solution.
You don't need to wait for somebody in the private sector to come and
But it shouldn't be driven by just government alone. Government can't force this solution down the throats of the private sector.
I know. There are people in the agricultural industry who are interested in this kind of thing. Identify them.
Did they bid for it?
Well, whatever
the Ministry of Trade and Industry?
Bring it out, and let's see how it works out.
Okay.
Because we spend a lot of money with these things. The other one is poultry.
Yes.
We spend so much money in importing. So those poultry farmers you feel are strong enough to be able to handle the poultry industry, you pick them. At least for the first 2-3 years.
So we'll continue with the government promises, but let's hear from Elvis on this delivery. I mean, you were here, we were talking about the 28th of January, and it's finally here. And government is, fulfilling its promise. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, fulfilling the promise, good. But I think those who managed the process did a bad job.
How so?
And if I were the president, I would have sacked some people.
How?
Oh, yeah. If you go and deceive the president, the team will be ready on January 6th, and the president promised the whole country that January 6th is going to, January 7th is going to distribute, and it didn't happen. You really deserve to be sacked.
No, but the president himself, when the Ministry of Special Development told him the ambulances had arrived, he said, wait for every constituency to get one. So he should also look in the mirror.
He said everything should be ready. So they went to tell him that everything is ready. So he said January 7th.
And he still said wait, so that we can do this whole fanfare.
And January 7th was the day that was given. And forget about even the president. The point is, even the planning process, we ordered for this to be manufactured. That is why it took some time. And we have been told that even at the time that the manufacturer had completed and the buses are ready, people who are supposed to man it, we had not completed training them. The technology we want to fix to them to monitor their movement, we had not finished them. It's a complete sign of poor planning.
But government spokespersons will say that they were just dotting their I's and crossing their T's.
No, that's what I say. It's a poor. I've said that progress is not made because you do things as and when you wish. Progress is made because you have a master plan that you are following. If we are going to buy ambulances and we believe that to manage them we need technology to be fixed, the time we paid an advance for the manufacturing to start. That is why we immediately start training the people who will take charge of it. That's why we start putting in place all the things we think are needed. So by the time the manufacturer is done, all these are done. So this delay that has to be occasioned by the fact that we have to now put in some technology, have to fix and connect our emergency line to one center and all that, which are all relevant anyway, but the planning process was bad. That is why those things were not ready. Even ambulances were manufactured, completed, shipped to this country, cleared from the port, and they have to be lying somewhere because these processes, which are also important, were not completed. For me, it's a matter of poor planning by the people who were put in charge of this process. Very fantastic decision, as you said. If you look at the record of the ambulance service, we didn't have one since independence until the stadium disaster happened. Yeah. Okay? The report of the stadium disaster identified that lack of ambulances also contributed some of the deaths because people have to be piled up in pickups and things to the hospital. So we needed an ambulance service. And that was all come 2003, President Kufuor, 2004, President Kufuor decided to set up the ambulance service. At the time he is exiting office, they had about 24 ambulances. President Mills came and bought 161 ambulances in addition to that. But by WHO standards, ambulances lose their usefulness after 5 years of operations. So it means that every 5 years we need to replace the fleet. So the one that President Mills bought in 2010 had actually expired or outlived its usefulness at the end of 2015. Yeah. So in 2015, President Mahama decided that then we should replace them with 200 new ones. Unfortunately, whatever happened, how they went about the contracting, it became illegal. It's now a legal issue in court because what they brought in has been rejected by the ambulance service as not fit for purpose. Yeah. And the contractor says he believes that what he brought in, the specification given him, so he doesn't buy the decision of the government. So they are in court over that. So the 30 that are brought in were not useful, and they had to be packed somewhere while we go into legal issues. Then this government came and said they will buy 300. And they are fulfilled buying it, which is a good one. But as I said, the process of managing the whole thing for it to go smooth, those who were in charge really didn't do a proper planning from the beginning. So at the time that they realized that the thing was coming, before they were looking at, are we prepared with the technology, are we prepared with this and that, and they realized that they were late. And then they had to delay for those things to be done before this can be distributed. And so for me, very good and fantastic, because see, if you look at the ambulance, they will tell you that by a record of about 30 million people, we need a minimum of 1,000 ambulances.
And we currently have just 50.
And now we currently have only 50. And these 52 by the WHO standards, they have outlived their usefulness because according to the WHO, the gadgets that are in ambulances, if you use them for 5 years, they are no longer as effective as they should be. So you had an ambulance over the weekend. What did you see inside that? No, the one I had, well, okay. it's look okay. At least it's be able to transport the person from Volta Regional Hospital in Ho to Kolebu Teaching Hospital. But do you think these people who were in charge of planning the distribution of ambulances attached the urgency that needed to be attached to an issue like solving emergency problems? The way they have done it, that's what I'm saying. The way if I were the president, I would have sacked some people. How would you have wanted them to handle this issue? What I would have wanted to do is for you to make sure that before the ambulances are ready, whatever that needs to be done in Ghana for them to be distributed are already in place. Okay. So when they get here, in a minimum of 2 weeks, you are done and they should be distributed. Okay. That is how our wish is done. Okay. By the way it has been done, we are talking about this ambulance. Some of them have arrived in this country for almost 2 to 3 months now. Well, the first batch arrived in September. Do you understand it? And we are in January. Yeah. So it's almost 3 months that some of them have arrived in this country. Months, yeah. You understand it? So for me, it's a very important thing. The government needs to be commended that they took the bold decision to be able to purchase 300 at a go. Because I gave you the history. We started from 24 as at the end of 2018. 2010, President Mills at 161. So buying 300 is like double what President Mills bought. And the fact that we needed over 1,000 to be able to give us some standard ambulance operations, if they are able to buy 300 at a go, if 2 years time we are able to buy another 300, maybe in 5 years, 6 years, we'll have over 1,000 ambulances. We replace 200 after each 2 years so that we are not replacing all 1,000 fleet at a go. That would be too expensive. So if you buy it in batches like this, 300 after 2 years, 300 after 2 years, 300, means that each year we'll be replacing 300 of them. And they become sustainable for replacement so that we don't have to replace 1,000 at a if we should buy one. So for me, it's a commendable action that they have taken, what the ambulance that even came from Accra to Ho was able to do by transporting this patient, that the CEO of Volta Regional Hospital was very scary, very good man who did a lot to be able to bring the patient to a certain, but he was so afraid that probably the person may not make it to Korle Bu because the condition was so precarious. So he was even skeptical to allow us to take the patient from Ho. But we said, look, whatever happens, if it becomes critical, the specialists that will even manage the situation are not at the Volta Regional Hospital.
Wow.
So it is better that we actually bring the person to Korle. So we will take the risk. Because even if it becomes worse and you even refer us to, we'll still have to travel from Ho to Accra. So it is better we take him at a time that is not beyond your control. And then he agreed with us and actually allow us to go. So if I look at what has happened, that the whole Volta region has no ambulance, I wish they were distributed 3 months ago.
So my next question for you is, do we really need this whole commissioning and all this extra fanfare around it? Because people have critiqued government that if you're solving an emergency situation, just distribute them as they come. You don't need a date and everything else. But I'll take your answer right after we go for a break. This is still Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. The hashtag is Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. We want to hear from you, so do send your messages. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Thank you so much for staying with us again. If you're watching us on Facebook, do well to comment. If you're on other social media platforms, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily. And if you want to reach us directly, the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. Country code is +233 if you're outside Ghana. I still have with me lawyer Jantuah, who's the former vice chair of PIAC, member of CPP as well, and a lawyer, and Elvis Darko, who's the editor of The Finder. We're discussing the distribution of 307 ambulances to 275 constituencies tomorrow. And before the break, I was asking Elvis, solutions to emergency services. Is this something that we need, commissioning of, fanfare about, or should we just have distributed the ambulances as they arrived? The first batches of ambulances arrived in September, and we are now in January. Elvis.
Well, the fanfare will happen because this is what we Ghanaians vote for when we go to the polls.
Is that really what you voted for, Elvis?
I don't vote for, but if you look at the Ghana I know, more than the 70% of people will vote based on political promises.
Okay. But this is an emergency service. Yes, this isn't some 1D, 1F.
It's still part of
one village, one damn thing. This is something that we will die if we don't have access to.
How will it promise? It was promised in a political manifesto. If it were a national development strategy that is an emergency service, national ambulance service, we need a minimum of 1,000 ambulances for Ghana to run effectively with the population. That is a minimum. So let's have a plan. Each year, let's buy 200. So after every 4 years, we are replacing 200 of what is there. So the replacement will be sustainable. And this plan is to be adhered to.
Irrespective of issue of political parties.
No political party will come and promise you, because it is already a plan that this is how we do it. So every 2 years, definitely whichever government is in power.
Do we have such developmental plans?
That is the problem we have. We have allowed, in this country, we have set up a National Development Planning Commission. We decided that we will not abide by what they say. We have decided that political parties that win power now have to go and sit with the National Development Planning Commission to help them convert their manifestos into our development plan based on our medium-term plans.
And how does that retard our development?
It retards your development, as you are saying. As I said, this 200 ambulances shouldn't be a political promise from any political party. It should have been that, because it's an emergency service, as you are saying, it should have been said that we have a master plan that for each 5 years, we are using 5 years to buy the 1,000 ambulances, 200 a year. So it means that after each year, we are buying 200 ambulances. So it is not a matter of who decides. It should be a master policy that is an emergency. So whoever is in government, you are mandated to buy 200 ambulances every year or every 2 years. So then, even if you come and put it in your political manifesto, I'm not going to vote for you, because I know that it's a master plan that we are following as a nation already. So you don't need to promise me that. Promise me something that is outside, or tell me the 200 ambulances. How do you intend to raise money to buy them? That is how I want to hear from you, not you promising me to buy it. Or they say it is 200, but my government can raise money to buy 300 or 400 at a go instead of the 200. Then that is where the ideas will now come. Is okay, we have a master plan that we buy 200, but somebody say you can find the money and buy 400. So then we know that we are going to get 400. Then we are now seeing the innovation of the political parties. But since we don't have this, it's like Ghana is running basically like an autopilot. When something happens, then we rush to go and find a solution. But the master plan to say we want to do this, we don't have. We're talking about dualization of roads and accidents. And I said, no government can come and promise that it will dualize the highways in Ghana in 4 years or 8 years. It won't happen because the cost is so exorbitant. But if we had a master plan and said, okay, all our highways are 2,000 kilometers. So we put in our master plan, we are using 10 years to do it. So each year, whichever government is in power, you dualize 200 kilometers. So it doesn't matter who is in power. You are mandated to dualize 200 kilometers of our highways because we want to stop the carnage on our highways. So we want to dualize it. So it becomes a master plan. So you don't need to promise me that because it's a national agreement that whoever is in power must give me 200. So if you come and you are able to do 300, then I say, oh, this government is innovative. Even though the plan is to do 200, they manage to find money to be able to do more than 200.
Right.
So then I can have my faith in that government. Okay. But then when we sit here and everything is like, it has to come from political parties in their campaign manifesto that if I come, I will do this. And that's the way we are going. Then this is the kind of situation we continue to find ourselves in. So it's about time both NDC and NPP are tied together by parliament or whatever institution to say, you must all commit to the national development plan.
Okay.
Let's all say that in education for the next 5 years, this is all we are going. Look, as I said, Kolebu, can you imagine a hospital like Kolebu? And they are using louvers. And they open it because it is ceiling fans. And the ceiling fans are not giving the patients enough air. So they have to open the windows. But when you read, I'm not a doctor, but when you read about medicine, they will tell you even the quality of air that patients breathe once on admission even contribute to their speedy recovery. So if you are opening your louvers and this harmattan with the death with this dust entering the ward, and this is what patients are breathing. Patients who need help are breathing. This is not the kind of environment we should have. Yeah. Every ward in Kolebu should be airtight with air conditions. But you go to Kolebu, all the wards you have visited so far, it is louvers. And they will open it because they want air. Because even the ceiling fans are not enough to give the people some comfort on admission.
The patients are crowded in the room.
So somebody should be telling us that, look, we need to change Kolebu. Yeah. If we have to build a new one, fine. If the cost of building a new one is better than rehabilitating Kolebu, let's build a bigger hospital that every ward is airtight. Yeah, no dirty air entering the ward for patients who are needing recovery to be breathing poisonous air. How do they recover? Okay. These things are things that we must sit down and stop. NDC will always come. But we don't need them to come and tell me that I will build Legon Hospital. I want you to tell me that you can build 3 of them. And you can provide A, B, C, D for them to cater for our health. We need to be... See, elsewhere, development, they write your taxes at work. But here, it is NPP, NDC. That is why we will also go and vote for them. We need to begin to change our mindset and the paradigm in the political space. If not, we want to restrict ourselves, continue with this. Every project has to tag NDC and NPP. Then their manifesto will determine our development.
Thank you.
And it will not help all of us because the speed at which you need to develop, we will not get there.
Thank you very much.
Just to add,
yes,
we have
please
the National Development Plan. We have a 40-year National Development Plan.
Are we following the plan?
That is the question you ask yourself. If for nothing at all, media should have that plan, debate it, let the people also know what is in there, and let's tag it to our party manifesto.
But as Elvis said, if we're voting for people based on whatever political parties we sympathize with, then we are also...
But the manifesto should take it out of the development plan.
Okay.
At the present moment, it's the other side. Now, the government should sacrifice. This 1,000 ambulance we're talking about, we can buy it.
Okay.
I expect the president to come out and say, this year, we are not buying any Land Cruisers for ministers or MPs or anything. Okay. All that money we are going to use to buy ambulances. We need 1,000. Okay. And we are going to put a budget in place where we can replenish as we go along. Then I know that the government thinks about the people. Okay. If that isn't done and they are still buying Land Cruisers, then I don't see how we can achieve what we want to achieve.
Thank you very much. And of course, to you at home, if you want to contribute to the conversation, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line is 0550585832. We'll take a look at our second story here. Moody's report is out and we have a positive economic outlook for Ghana. So I'm reading from page 2 of the Finder and it says, government has welcomed Moody's Investors Service affirmation of B3 and outlook change from stable to positive. Best in a decade. This credit rating position is the best Ghana has received from Moody's in the last decade. Ghana nears upgrade to B2. A positive outlook signals that the credit rating in the medium to long term might be raised to a better rating of B2, demonstrating reliable liquidity, risk management, and increasingly firm control over the debt position will support an upgrade to a B2 rating. So there are some reasons for the positive outlook. The decision to assign a positive outlook reflects Moody's rising confidence that the country's institutions and policy settings will foster improved macroeconomic and fiscal stability over the medium term, acknowledging that the recent International Monetary Fund reforms program for the country, that's Ghana, has had some positive impacts, a statement from the credit rating agency said. Now, the vice president is responding, and he says this outlook improvement is further evidence that all, including the global economic community, is clear in its mind and expectations that Ghana staying on this economic management track is a very positive outlook. Things can only continue to get better. All, including the global economic community, have hope on this path. So, Elvis, let me hear from you on this, move from stable to positive. Should we all be celebrating, or should we ask ourselves how it trickles down from the macro to the micro?
Yeah, that's the issue. See, economic management is in the micro and macro level.
Okay.
The figures are important, absolutely important for any economy. We sit here, we say people get loans in outside at 3%. It is because their figures are absolutely good. Okay. So the figures need to be good for us to also enjoy those kind of benefits.
So if you go get a loan here and it's 15%, 20%, then you know that something is not right.
The figures are bad.
Okay, and then you go drive them out of your shops because they are foreigners.
The figures economically are very, very important in any country's economic management.
Okay.
So what Moody's has said, for me, it's good because we have been in B for a long time. And as for a decade now, this is the first time we're having a B3 positive outlook. It used to be stable.
Now
we came from negative to stable, now stable to positive. So what it means is that if we should be able to do the things that Moody is saying, we could go to B2. So B2 is an improvement over B3. But you see, that is what we need to do consistently. And we need economic growth of about 10% annually for like a decade to be able to make some serious improvement in the life of the people. So this thing that has come, this is an election year, Moody's has said it. Normally in election year, because of pressure from the citizens, we want water, we want road, we want schools. Government in power wants to maintain their election
this is the year of roads.
So we'll then, by the time you see, we have overspent. If you look at the records, every election apart from 2004, which President Kufuor ensured that we didn't overspend, almost all election years in the Fourth Republic, government budgets overspent. And 2012 was the worst we have had. So it's important that government today, with the promise they are making that they will not overspend, we will not enter 2021 and then the figures will come in and say, we have overspent. That will be bad news for us. So it's important because these things tell us that if we go to the bond market now, we can now negotiate a little better interest rate on what we pay. That is why these things are very important. Investors who want to come to Ghana to do investment are looking at this kind of things. See, your president can travel the world over and kneel down and beg people to come and invest in your country. They don't give a fuck about that.
Oh, morning TV. Sorry.
They don't care about that.
Okay.
What they care about is that when they go to ratings agencies like Moody's, S&P, and the rest, Fitch, the figures that they see there are attractive. That is what draws them to your country.
Okay.
So this is very important. But see, when you look at ratings, the B3 positive that we are talking about, if we're negative, it means we're deciding to C. C means that you are done.
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at ratings agency up to the end of B, there is a point to get to. The B1, B2, B3 are all, they classify them junk status.
Okay.
It means that we are being junk status the entire Fourth Republic as a country.
Which isn't something we should be proud of.
Which is not something to be proud of, because that is not what an investor wants to hear.
But now we are junk positive,
as a country,
so it's okay. You are not junk stable.
Even if you move to B2, you move to B1, by rating standards, by all the 3 rating standards, you are still in junk status in terms of, and it's not good news.
Okay.
So we should ensure that we keep this trajectory, that we can move to, maybe in the next 2 years, can move to B2, we can
B1.
move to B1 in maybe 4 years time, maybe 5 years time, we leave and go to investment grade, because B1 all the way is non-investment grade. They are telling investors that what it means to the investor that this country is not a place to go invest your money. It's called a non-investment grade level. So once we will be praising these things, we need to work harder.
And aim higher.
To really work harder to be able to get to an investment grade level.
Okay.
And then the one you asked about, the one that goes to the ordinary person's pocket.
Yes. Wrap up with that
all
answer,
these things
Elvis.
will be on paper nicely good for us. But the ordinary Ghanaian will say, the economy you are talking about is not what I see in my pocket. For me, as an individual, the economy is what goes on in my daily life.
So how come it's not reflecting from the macro to the micro level?
No, there is a challenge, okay? It is how you build your economy.
Okay.
See, if you are having a growing economy based on hydrocarbons, which are in the sea, they don't really generate jobs.
Okay.
So you can have growth, but we call it a jobless growth, because the sectors that are giving you growth are not sectors that employ people in numbers.
Okay. What about cost of living? Because some people say it's too high. They can't afford to live in the country.
Yeah, but the point is, if you are a country that largely depends on imports, okay, you largely depend on imports, and the imports is driving your local currency down. What it means is that whatever you import will become more expensive because your local currency is weaker. Yeah. So we need to look at how we can build our light industrial base. That is why, for me, a policy like one district, one factory, I have always said is the best thing. Whether NPP is in power, whichever governments come, we must force the politicians into that policy.
Are you satisfied with how far we've come with 1D, 1F?
Fantastic. If 58 can be built in 4 years, Dziffa, if we're doing that from 93, maybe by now we would have a lot.
But Nkrumah did way more than that.
No, you see,
in the late 50s and early
Nkrumah
60s.
did fantastic job. You see, there's a difference between building an institution and managing it.
Okay.
The world is divided between whether you want to be a capitalist or you want to be a socialist. You have to decide.
Now it's mixed, though.
There are countries.
Now it's mixed.
Now the lines are blurred.
There are countries like China who will tell you that government has to play a role. So they finance institutions hugely. They have the Asian tigers have an economic model where governments invest so hugely to start even institutions.
And that's where we started from as a nation.
As they make progress, they divest their interest. Once the books are showing that the company is doing well, they offload greater percentage to private sector to keep the risk and manage it. What happened during our time in Nkrumah? Nkrumah built everything. We were supposed to manage them well and offload the risk of the performing companies to private sector. But we kept all in public hands. And we live in a country where we appoint family and friends and cronies to these institutions. So when they are already running it down, we find it difficult to remove them. So we wait till they run the company down totally that there's nothing you can do about it. That is our problem.
All right, thank you
institutions.
very much, Elvis Darko. And I'm going to go on to Lawyer Jantuah, but I want to point out something that Moody's had. They said, for some time now, I'm reading from the report, Ghana's rating has been constrained by two related factors. First, the challenge its policy-making institutions have experienced in establishing a consistent set of policies which support macroeconomic and financial stability and which survive changes of government. Second, by the high level of external commercial debt holding, which, taken alongside limited net foreign exchange reserves, exposes the government and the balance of payments to a loss of internal or international investors' confidence in policymakers. So what I want to ask you is, how do we ensure that policy-making activities are sustained from government to government? And Elvis talked about our dependence on imports. How do we ensure that at least we begin to intentionally produce locally so that we can strengthen our currency?
Based on a national development plan.
Okay.
If you have a national development plan, it takes care of
But
that.
we have a national development plan.
We are not practicing it. We are not implementing it.
What would it take for us to implement it?
Well, government will.
Okay.
Because the NDPC is directly under the presidency. So government will. And what this indicates is that you need continuity.
Yeah.
If you have manifestos in place and manifestos of political parties, you would not get that continuity because political parties don't tend to see eye to eye. If political parties saw eye to eye and said, okay, the MPP is looking at one district, one factory. The CPP has come into power. It was a good policy. We put it in our manifesto. We'll continue. Then maybe that first bit would be taken care of. But it hasn't. We don't do it that way. So it is key that the National Development Plan should be put in place. And we have the Constitution indicating it. We have the the Petroleum Revenue Management Act indicating it. But politicians aren't prepared to work with it. And if they're not prepared to work with it, how do you sustain the kind of ratings Moody is giving to us?
Okay. But what's your thoughts on us moving from stable to positive?
For me, the ratings really are meant for investors.
Okay. Not for the citizenry.
The citizenry.
Okay.
Because look, we have a huge debt profile.
Yeah.
Huge debt profile. And if these figures are to be taken into consideration, how do we attack this debt profile? The debt profile is what? 200 and what?
About 200 billion.
Yeah, 200 billion?
Ghana cedis.
You have good ratings. Where are you going to find the money to pay these debts? And you go to Makola today and you tell them, oh, Moody's have said that, oh, Ghana is doing well. They'll ask you, where is Ghana doing well? They don't feel it in their pockets. When you take the two countries that Moody's have put up there, Denmark and New Zealand, when you ask their citizens, they'll tell you, we are comfortable. We can go to hospital, we can take our children to school, we can afford 3 square meals a day. Doesn't happen here. Our people aren't sleeping on the streets. Housing is good. Power is good. But we have can I use the word endemic? Is that the right word? We have endemic problems that we are not sorting out. Okay. So, as Vice President Bamia is laughing all the way to the bank.
Have we gotten comfortable with being good kids in a bad neighborhood?
Good children in a bad neighborhood?
Yes, the fact that we compare ourselves to other countries on the continent and we're happy with where we are.
If you take Ghana within the 54 countries, you put Ghana up there. But when you come to the nitty-gritties, you realize that there's so many things we are not doing. So typical one is sanitation. That you go to countries like Rwanda today and you dare not drop paper on the ground. What is our sanitation situation in Ghana here?
Well, we're on track to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa.
Are we?
Oh,
really?
That's what the mayor is saying.
You're a journalist. Have you actually interrogated what he's saying, or they're just saying it?
Okay. You don't think we'll get there?
I still see filth on the roads. Okay. We have vehicles that are spraying out carbon dioxide on our roads. And we see it, nothing is being done. We have a police service, unfortunately, that can't enforce laws. If the fabric of society is not working, for me, these ratings are neither here nor there. Okay. I want to feel it in my pockets.
Okay, so we'll take a look at our final story here. Another index, reading from citinewsroom.com, and it says, Ghana maintains score on Corruption Perception Index. Ghana ranked 80 out of 180 countries on the 2019 Global Corruption Perception Index, according to Transparency International. According to the report, Ghana scored 41 out of the possible clean score of 100, the same score as the previous year, 2018. So, Elvis, let me ask you your thoughts on this, the fact that we've gone through one whole year and we're still stuck at 41 and 80 out of 180 countries.
Well, for me, I would say, you see, when we improved from 40 to 41, Transparency International said something. It's attributed largely to the work of civil society like ANAS, exposing corruption, and the setting up of the office of the special prosecutor. So we improved from 40 to 41. So you ask yourself, after that, have we had any of those things happen? The special prosecutor virtually, we all agree that has not lived up to expectation. And the man in charge himself has been complaining.
Yes, but beyond special prosecutor, I mean, there are other agencies fighting corruption
I'm just
in the
telling
country.
the previous upgrade that we maintained, what influenced it. Because all the things we are talking about, they have been there. So if they have not done anything special, it will influence the rating. But you see, it's not even based on the fact that the people are even working. It is a perception. So it is what the people perceive. That is what Transparency International actually measures.
But what does that mean for the fight against corruption?
ANAS broke the number 12 and people say, oh yeah, there's something being done to fight corruption. Because even ANAS exposed, special prosecutor has been brought in, so we believe that something is. So the people had that hope and perception that something will happen. But 1 year down the line, the same people that are, but the perception we have that special prosecutors come to do something special did not happen. So our perception remained the same. That is why we are at 41 for me. I am a little even surprised that we did not drop.
Really?
Yeah, the fact, because if you look at the way we spoke about corruption last year, if really it has fed into perception, and those who answered the question, they probably would have been down seriously. But I realize that it has not really fed into perception. And I'm not surprised because the CDD survey showed that corruption is no longer a priority in Ghana in the first 7 priorities. Corruption is on number 8 in terms of things that Ghanaians actually care about these days.
Is that something we should worry about?
Very worry about. Corruption should always be number 1. Why? Every transformation, whatever we need in this country, needs to be done with money.
But the fact that it's number 8, does that mean we've grown numb to it? Or
maybe we need to do a research into it. It's possible people are just going to say, whoever comes, it will be like that. So let's not complain. I don't know, but what I'm saying is that if, as a country, we shout and talk a lot about corruption, but a survey shows that on the list of priorities that we are looking for, it is number 8. To me, it's a serious problem. Because the things that were number 1 were like roads, hospitals, all these things that they put from number 1 to 7 before corruption needed to be done with money. If corruption is siphoning the money, how can those problems be solved? So you see, we should understand that all the 7 priorities before corruption all have to be solved with money. So if we go and put corruption at number 8 and we say we want roads, where would the resources come from if indeed people are siphoning the resources that should be used for those projects?
Thank you,
So
Elvis.
we should be careful. Ghanaians should bring corruption to the number 1 position of concern. Because if we fight it well, then the resources will be left in national Citi to be used to solve the problems that we have. But if we put it at number 8 and you're asking for road, the money you're asking for road, we have been told that somebody is putting it in his pocket. So then how will the rape get done?
Thank you very much. Lawyer Jantuah.
It's a very easy mantra for any political party to indicate that they are fighting corruption when they are voted into power. Very easy mantra. But are they really fighting corruption? Because corruption isn't only money. Vote buying is corruption. Abuse of incumbency is corruption. Threats to vote is corruption. Galamsey is corruption. There's so wide a fabric of corruption.
But this government set up the office of the special prosecutor.
Has it worked?
Well,
has it worked? You see, the danger here is that even if the people have a perception of corruption working, is it really working? Because it's so endemic. To be able to uproot it will take years. But we need to see that the people in power are doing something about it. We need to see that if they find their own people are being corrupt, they sack them. That kind of perception would be good for Ghana. Right now, we are marking time, aren't we? We're still at 41, aren't we?
Yeah.
Still marking time. Nothing seems to have moved. We're going into an election. And for me, this 200 Ghana cedi and 100 Ghana cedi that they have brought in is basically for elections. That's the way I see it. That's why do I say that? It is very difficult giving somebody 50, 50, 54. You think about it twice.
Well,
but
I
it's very
think Ghanaians
easy.
are no longer settling
it's very easy.
We're focusing on policies.
I said it's very. We are talking about corruption.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to give you 200 note. Very, very easy.
So you think we were going about all of this because it's an election?
Because we want to. Because we have narrowed everything down to elections.
Okay, I think that's a bit of a stretch, but
It could be a stretch, but it is true.
That we have done what?
Printing the new notes because it's an election year.
Oh, as for money, when you print, everybody has his perception. But as I said the last day, there are economic benefits of printing
the notes.
larger currencies. Okay. It has its own negatives and positives. And depending on the economic situation you are reading,
which is stronger
as a central bank governor.
Which is stronger?
Thank you very much.
Which is stronger?
Lawyer Kwame Jantuah is
how strong is
lawyer
we know
and
our
former vice chair of PIAC and a member of the CPP, and of course Elvis Darko is the editor of The Finder.
We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.